Hola. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for taking this time to join us in our second first Lunch and Learn. My name is Shubo Rodriguez. I'm a software developer and member of the JobCity HR department. And it's really nice to see so many people interested in this topic and passionate about technology like all of us. And yeah, this is a great feeling. And talking about this topic, let me introduce to Roberto. He's an awesome and very skilled developer. He's working from León, Guanajuato, Mexico. And now, please welcome Roberto, who is going to talk about Laravel versus Ruby on Rails.
Well, hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Roberto. I'm a Ruby on Rails developer for backend. I'm working here at JobCity, and I would like to talk to you about this presentation, Laravel versus Ruby on Rails, the both web application frameworks. So the main thing with web frameworks for applications is do our best work, right? So we have to create some awesome web apps. Both are excel at that. The thing here is that usually we're tending to prefer our own tools and try to talk about how our tool is better than the other one. But here I want to build a bridge and show you how these tools are very similar, so you can create your work with either one of them. So both are web application frameworks. Both have different pros and cons. And here, the main thing I want to promote is the respect for other developer tools and their choices. We have to think about we're trying to find the right tool for the job. In this example, by this picture, I'm showing you some pliers to set a screw. Obviously, we know that's not the right tool for this job. We're using a screwdriver. So the same thing happened with web application frameworks. We have to use the right tool for the job. We're trying not to over-engineer or to overthink all the applications, or don't have to overkill the fabrication of the web application. So both are using open source, have great communities, both are using the RESTful interface, and both are based on their respective scripting languages, PHP versus Ruby. And here I'm showing a picture of the MVC architecture, which is Model View Controller. The user makes a request, and that reaches to the router. The router passes the request to the controller. There the logic handles all and manipulates all data. That passes to the model, which makes the query to the database, and then it updates the data, send it back to the controller, and then passes to the view to render it and show it to the user. So by this table, I would just want to make a quick comparison between both frameworks. Both are using their main scripting language. Laravel is PHP based. Meanwhile, Ruby on Rails is Ruby based. as I told earlier, both share the model view controller architecture. Both have the MIT license, and both are using their own command line interface tool. So Laravel is using Artisan, and Ruby on Rails uses two main tools. One is the Ruby binary, the other one is the reg tool. Both have their own templating languages. PHP is using Blade. Meanwhile, Ruby on Rails is using ERB by default. And for the object mapper, we have Eloquent with Laravel, and we have Active Record with Ruby on Rails. So I like to just make a quick toy project. Will be like a tiny block project, showing you how the pages are handled through a static controller for showing static data. I'm going to create a post using the MVC architecture through a scaffold. I'm going to cheat a little here using a scaffold, which is a tool for modeling on Rails. And we'll try to create this comment model also. It's going to be associated to the model. So I'm going to go live and make these comparisons side by side for the slide and the console, only for the Rails tooling. Here I want to show you how the project initialization is done. For the Laravel side, we have this Laravel command, and we pass the new command with the project name. And with Rails, we're using the Rails command, also passing its new argument and then the project name. I'm going to try and have this done here by the console. I have run a little ahead of time and try to create this just to not load the connection. I have this Rails new job city demo, and then the Rails gem created all these files, the necessary files, and have all the dependencies installed. And then I have a functional directory with the job city demo. So here I am by my main branch. We're going to explore the other commands side by side. So that was for project initialization. In fact, if I run right now like my Rails server, this is launching right now at this address. So I can appoint a new web browser. And there we have it. We're running a Rails application with the startup screen. So for the other commands, you have to know that both are using different database. They can use different databases, I'm sorry. We maybe are used to SQLite, maybe MS SQL, maybe MySQL or PostgreSQL. So both frameworks support these different database vendors. I found out that Laravel is using this database.php, where it has all the configuration for all the different vendors. But in the end, you are using this .env file to configure your DB connection. In this case, for this example, is using MySQL, and it has the localhost address and the port that is going to be used. From the Rails perspective, we usually use it as an argument for the Rails for the project initialization. And in this example, I'm passing the -d and then the name of the adapter that should be used. In this case, is PostgreSQL, but in the project that I created just now is using by default SQLite, because I didn't pass any argument. It's the default database to be used. So my next slide, sorry about that. It's the controller creation. Laravel has this artisan command and passing the argument for making a controller, and then it's using this name or the something controller, this convention. Rails is exactly the same. It's using this. It's Rails generate controller and passing a convention and then the controller piece, I'm gonna create right now a new one. So I'm going to Rails generate controller, and it will be called pages, and then passing, let's say, an action called index. And there we have it. If I launch again my Rails server, going again to this address, and then I can go to the pages index. And there we have it. There is this view for the pages index action, and it's telling us where to edit this file. This happened to through a routing. Both tools are having this route file. Laravel is using this web.php, and it's we can do a listing of the routes through PHP artisan route list. Rails is using the same thing. Its file is called routes.rb, and we're listing with Rails routes. In fact, I'm gonna do a little change in my code. So I'm going to call the routes file, and then I'm having a root pages, and then calling the index action. So instead of having this right now, if I travel to the root, I'm given that new route because of this routing effect. So that's through routing. So for the Blade PHP, it's the templating, the template system used by Laravel. I have a little example here. It's using the yield command to yield the content, and it does have an extension for the layout of the application, and you can have the content done by sections. Rails has really a similar thing. It also has its yield command, and by default it's using this ERP system. It's called embedded Ruby, but for this time I'm using Haml. It's a little bit simpler and try to avoid some of the usual mistakes for not closing tags. So I'm gonna use that Haml a little bit. And now I'm going to go to the model, to the creation of the model, of the post. Laravel is using this kind of migrations by using PHP. It's passing the arguments, creating all these attributes for the table. And Rails here is doing some Ruby, very clear language, how it's all written, all is expressed. So this is the table that's gonna be created. So I'm gonna show you right now by command. I'm gonna stop my server. I'm gonna do a Rails generate, and then I'm gonna use that scaffold that I told you about, and I'm gonna create the post. By convention, it's singular. And then the attributes, slug title, image path, those three are strings, and description is going to be text. So slug title and image path are going to be of type string, and then the description. That could be like a body, really, description. It's going to be text. So running this command, Rails is done creating all the needed files, and I'm going to run the migration. If I show you this file, which is the creation, it's going to look the same that the example on the slides. create post. So here's it. I didn't write this, and here we can set up like our defaults, like null and things like that. And then I'm gonna run this migration. Rails database migrate. And there we have it. We're running a new migration, and I can go and run my Rails server. And if I can go through the posts, and then I have my post index page, and I can create a new post. I'm just gonna fill this with some things, demo. Let's say just the default. Create the post, and I have the post successfully created, and I have ready through this table, and I can manage this from here. So I'm going back to the presentation. So this is the way the migrations are managed through Rails, and already went a little ahead and done this Rails db migrate command. PHP manages exactly the same. The thing here is that both web application frameworks are awesome, are doing the same things. Also, both are using this read eval print loop. Laravel is using this tinker command, and Rails is going through Rails console, which is pretty much the same. I'm going to stop this and run some Rails console. And here I can do my query, and I have the first post that I created here. And here is the slide for the collections, how both systems are handling their collections. Laravel is using this post ::all get, and you can do it on the controller and passing it through the view without a global variable. Rails is exactly the same. We're using this on the controller at post and calling our post with our methods for doing the query, scopes, and maybe passing some params. And here on the view, we're rendering the view with some different methods. We can use different methods. Also, Rails has this really nice render system that we only create a partial view, a little tiny bit of a view, and it can render it automatically, but by doing some iteration, it's really easy to create these kind of things. And then, well, I'm also pointing out all their strengths for each framework. Laravel is incredibly stable based on this PHP language. I believe Laravel is on version 8 already, and PHP is really wide-based. It's used across all servers. I have not found any server that doesn't have any base installation, and it's working on different OS and architectures. Also, it's cheaper and easier to install. Laravel has this big community. It's well documented and have this huge template offer. By their documentation, I find they call them startup kits, I believe. So you have already really useful tools like the authentication system, maybe a shopping cart, or you have all of the solutions already made, so you can integrate it into your project. And I think that's really well done. It's really a useful tool. For the Rails side, Ruby calls their libraries gems. So there are plenty of gems that do this similar function like the startup kits with Laravel, because somebody has already solved like the the authentication or the roles. It's very repetitive tools or things that you have to do. With Rails, the gem already solves this, but you have to create your logic. That's like some sort of a downside, because you have to create all this logic from scratch. Maybe you have your own snippets over there, but you have pretty much control over the mechanism for creating your own views for this and your logic, but the solution is there. Another thing I like about Rails is the Ruby syntax is really clear. It's really simple, as the author called it. It's for developer happiness. Rails is a really nice framework. It uses a lot of methods that it's sometimes they seem a little bit magic, so you have to pay attention to it. I have to recommend to you that you have to learn first some Ruby in order to differentiate how the methods are working. There's a lot of syntactic sugar, but Ruby has this awesome manipulation of the code. You can change the classes on the go. Maybe you can do some metaprogramming, and I have a little demonstration of this. I can do on this console right now. I love to how flexible Rails is with this from Ruby. I can call this class string, and maybe I'm gonna create my own method called is palindrome. Here, this palindrome, as you know, it's reading the word forward or backwards. It's the same word. So I'm gonna try and have this attached to the class of string. So I'm gonna check out for the self reference, and I'm gonna try and compare it with the self and this reverse method. So I can spell the word backwards in reverse. So I'm gonna compare these two, and if it's gone true, it's gonna be a palindrome. So I'm gonna close this method, and then we're gonna close the class, and then there you have it. I have a new method attached to the string class, so I can go with let's say mouse. I'm gonna call this palindrome, and I here had a little mistake because of the quotation. I'm going to try it again. So mouse is not a palindrome, but I can try it for radar. And there you have it. That is true, because we can spell that backwards. So it's a really powerful feature that you can use on all your applications. You can do this. Maybe you want to attach a similar method to the integer or some other method to arrays. And you can also create your own models, which will extend all this functionality. You don't have to jump and patch the classes like this. It's just a way to show you how this is working with Rails and Ruby. Mainly, it's a Ruby treat. So that's a little bit of their strengths. Really, both are beautiful frameworks. You can do a lot of things. They're used on really mature projects. We're using all these frameworks on production on several levels. Like let's say GitHub, I believe it's built on Rails. At least part of it. The Twitter was also built on Rails. And pretty much companies already in the world are using these two frameworks. I find them that you can jump and dive onto each one of those. If you're a Laravel developer, you can easily switch to Rails and give it a try. Also, if you are doing Rails and you found this demonstration so simple, but you can also take a look at PHP, use a Laravel, and document yourself, and you can be jumping through frameworks with this, and it's really useful for your growth and choosing the right tool for the job. So I have to thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Roberto, for your presentation. It was awesome. Thank you so much for all the people who joined. It was a really great experience for us. It seems that we have just a couple of questions. So
Sure.
don't forget, guys, if you have any questions, just post it in the chat. Alexis Rodriguez asks, what do you mean that Rails can change classes on the go?
So you can create a part of your code. You can incorporate these extensions. So like you saw right now, it was for my demo of the palindrome. I was running a Rails console. So I can have in a model, I can extend that functionality from the string class or any other class, or maybe the own classes I create. I can do these extensions and then incorporate it into the code. So they depend on that main class, because I want to create this palindrome checker, and I have to extend this functionality maybe to remove spaces or something like that. You can do it more complex and have it straight on the class. So that going to affect all that, instead of doing like an extension of it that you can only affect your instances or maybe the records. I have seen this mainly with arrays or enumerators, because you're extending a little functionality instead of just having it for a single class. I don't have like a really fresh memory of using that in a class right now, but it's really powerful that you can extend all of Ruby, because one of the main things that you will find about Ruby, if you document yourself, it's the main thing that's going to try and tell you is that in Ruby everything is an object, so you can manipulate everything, every part of Ruby.
Thank you, Roberto, for the answer. Yeah, I think it's a pretty solid feature, and it's very rare in any other language. Okay, this one is mine. Which documentation / community do you see as the most helpful? I'm pretty sure both of them are good. However, what's the strongest in your opinion?
Well, I found that Laravel has really like this big collection of resources already made, and I found that really interesting to study, because somebody already solved like the authentication, and you only have to plug in your web application and you have it running. But by the Rails side, I go through the library. Let's say there's a gem called device that handles all the authentication, and it's really powerful. But the downside is that you have to write all your logic for the controller and the views. But it does have plenty of methods to create invitations, your tokens, several things. So they're a little bit different, but they're really strong the communities. Also, if you go to the forums or check for some mailing lists or some blogs, people is really passionate about their own framework and have a lot of it can be really helpful to you. So I found that on the Rails community, you can find plenty of tutorials, and they are very easy to follow, and the community is great.
Okay, thank you, Roberto. Yeah, I have another question here.
Sure.
So it's a the authentication has to be done manually when using Rails.
Well, you have to create like the logic on the view. Maybe you are calling some current user, and that method it's done with some metaprogramming because Rails is not gonna know how you call your users. Maybe you're an admin. You have an admin class, and you create an admin class, and then device is gonna attach that, and it's gonna create a method called uh, current admin, and that is gonna infer how are you logged in, where are you logging from, do you have any count of logins already, your IP, maybe you're creating some tokens for sending out invitations. So the inside it's already done by these persons that create this library, but the your view is the thing that you're going to create, and some maybe some logic on the controller side, because you have maybe you have to create your authentication for a shopping cart, but not for the guest. The guest is going to add the guest is going to add items to your shopping cart, but you have to allow that. And when the guest is going to check out, there you have to create a new session, your new account, and log in, and that's the kind of things that you have to attack to handle.
Thank you, Roberto. Again, that question was asked by Johnny Pavon, by the way, and I hope Roberto answered that question. Okay, so it seems that we don't have any more questions. So thank you again, guys, for being here. And wait for us in the next one. We're gonna have another interesting topic for sure. And thank you, Roberto, for all your time and to share this knowledge with us.
My pleasure. It was really simple, but I hope that I can bridge developers between frameworks. And thank you, Job City.
Thank you, Roberto.